Today we're going to talk about biological functions of carbohydrates. So let's go! Before we proceed, we first must know the learning outcomes. Firstly, to define what carbohydrates are. Second, to identify the following functions, which are the energy, structures, and recognition. Lastly, to value the importance of carbohydrates in life. Now that we know our learning outcomes, let's play a game called Guess That Carbohydrates. It's a 4 picks 1 word game and you have to guess what carbohydrates is shown. Ready? First picture. Pasta. Second picture. Bread. Last picture. Potato. Now let's proceed to the introduction to carbohydrates. So, what are carbohydrates? Did you know that carbohydrates are one of the 3 main nutrients your body absolutely needs, just like proteins and fats? These nutrients play a huge role in giving us energy and helping our bodies function properly every day. Carbohydrates, or carbs for short, are actually made of 3 basic elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's where the name carbohydrate comes from. Carbo for carbon and hydrate for water, which contains hydrogen and oxygen. Now here's something cool. Carbohydrates are mostly found in plants. How do plants make them? Through a process called photosynthesis. This is when plants absorb energy from sunlight and use it to turn carbon dioxide and water into glucose, which is a type of sugar. The sugar becomes stored energy inside the plant in the leaves, stems, fruits, and roots. So when we eat plant-based foods like rice, bread, fruits, or vegetables, we're actually tapping into that stored sunlight energy. Even if we eat meat from animals that have eaten plants, we still got some of that same energy passed along to us. In short, carbohydrates are the body's main fuel source. Whether you're walking, thinking, or even just breathing, your body needs energy, and carbs are often the fastest, most efficient way to get it. That's why it is important to include healthy carbohydrate sources in our diet. They don't just fill us up, they help power everything we do. Now that we define what are carbohydrates, let's move on to the biological functions of carbohydrates. Let's talk about energy, specifically how our body gets it from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are actually the quickest nutrient to convert into energy. Among the 3 main nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, carbs are the body's go-to source when it needs a fast energy boost. Think of them as the fuel that gets burned first because they're the easiest to break down. Now, when we eat carbohydrates, whether it's from bread, rice, fruits, or vegetables, our body starts breaking them down into something simpler. This process turns carbohydrates into simple sugars, and one of the most important ones is glucose. Why glucose? Because glucose is the main sugar that our body uses as fuel. It travels through our bloodstream to our cells, where it's either used right away for energy or stored for later. This stored energy can be used when we need it, like during exercise, studying, or even just walking. Here's a simple way to see the process. Carbohydrates to glucose, then glucose to energy or ATP. What is ATP? ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's basically the energy currency of our body. Every time our muscles move, our brain thinks, or even when we're just breathing, our body is using ATP made from glucose. This diagram shows the breakdown of carbohydrates. It's a simple and clear way to understand how the food we eat turns into the energy we use every single day. Now that we understand this this process, we can see how important carbohydrates are. Without them, we won't have enough energy to do even basic activities like getting out of bed, concentrating in class, or playing sports. Our bodies will feel tired and weak without that steady supply of energy. So the next time you eat a bowl of rice or bite into a slice of bread, remember, you're giving your body the fuel it needs to stay active and alert. Carbohydrates aren't just food, they're energy in action. So let's move on to structures. Let me show you a visual of a plant cell. Do you see the outer layer surrounding the cell? That is the cell wall, and it is made of carbohydrate called cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide, which means it's made up of long chains of glucose molecules. Now here's something interesting. Humans can digest cellulose, but even though we can't use it for energy, plants depend on it a lot. It gives plants their structure, kind of like bones in our body. It helps them stand tall and firm, even when facing wind, rain, or pressure from their environment. Now, based on the image, can you describe what cellulose is? Great answer! You can think of cellulose as the support beam of a plant cell. It helps the plant grow straight and strong. Now, let's make a quick comparison. In animals, carbohydrates like glycogen are used to store energy. But in plants, cellulose is more like a structural tool, giving the plant strength rather than energy. So far, we've talked about one type of carbohydrate, but did you know there are several forms? Let's break it down. Monosaccharides, these are the simplest carbohydrates, just one sugar unit, like glucose or fructose. Disaccharides, these are made out of two monosaccharides linked together. For example, sucrose or table sugar. Oligosaccharides, these have 3 to 10 sugar units linked together. They're found in things like beans and onions. And finally, polysaccharides like cellulose, which have many sugar units, hundreds or even thousands. So to recap, cellulose is a polysaccharide found in plant cell walls, giving them strength and support. While we can digest it, it's crucial for the plant life, and it's just a one part of a much bigger carbohydrate family. Now that we know the true structure of carbohydrates and its type, let's move on to another interesting function of carbohydrates. What would happen now if our body can differentiate which cells are harmful and those that belong to you? Any guesses? Yes, that's right! The body might get sick or attack its own cells. We often think of carbohydrates as just a source of energy, but they actually have other very important roles, especially in cells. One of these roles is helping cells recognize each other and even identify invaders like viruses or bacteria. In fact, carbohydrates are involved in cell recognition and signaling. They act like ID tags on the surface of cells. You'll often find them attached to proteins or lipids. When carbohydrates bind to proteins, we call them glycoproteins. When they bind to lipids, they're called glycolipids. Think of glycoproteins and glycolipids like flags or labels on the outside of cells. They tell the body, hey, this is me, or this is a foreign. Now, here's a real-life example, blood types. Your blood type, whether it's A, B, AB, or O, is determined by the type of carbohydrate chain found in the surface of your red blood cells. Type A has A-type carbohydrates. Type B has B-type carbohydrates. Type AB has both. Type O has neither A nor B carbohydrates. These small carbohydrate differences important when it comes to blood transfusions. Why? Because your immune system is trained to recognize the carbohydrate tags it's used to. If it sees something different, like a foreign blood type, it may think it's an invader and attack it. That's why it's so important to match blood types carefully. Giving someone the wrong blood type can cause their immune system to launch a defense, which can be very dangerous. For example, if a person with type A blood receives type B blood, their immune systems will recognize the B carbohydrates as foreign and attack those red blood cells. This can lead to serious complications. So, the role of carbohydrates isn't just about food or energy. These small molecules play a huge role in helping our cells communicate, protect the body, and even in something as critical as saving lives through safe blood transfusions. To recap, carbohydrates help with cell recognition and communication. They appear as glycoproteins and glycolipids on the cell surface. They determine your blood type by the specific sugar chains they display. And they're vital for making sure blood donations are safe and compatible. So next time you hear the word carbohydrates, remember, they're not just in bread and rice. They're part of your body's most sophisticated ID system. Okay everyone, before we wrap this up, let's quickly run through what our amazing carbohydrates do for us. Carbohydrates are not just for energy and structure. They also act like labels on your cell, and they help in cell recognition, immune protection, and also blood type identification. And that concludes our lesson. Hope that you learned in this topic, and always remember that you matter!